Enough time now has passed that my anger has subsided. Those who have watched the first video, who can comprehend, and even, I'm sorry, this is a trigger warning, I'm going to say some positive language, comprehend, sympathize, empathetic, you have been warned. Okay, so if any of those emotions happened to any of you, then know that I'm going to try to make this one a lot less angry. The first video shall be venting. This video, self-reflection. And hopefully the last, well, the third, not the last, but the third, self-actualization. Something most of you need to fucking do. There are going to be generations of children who will be so suppressed that by the time they're adults, they are no different than when they were infants. It's not because they have learning disabilities. It's not because they refuse to change, but because the people around them, the environments in which they are forced to go through, absolutely refuse to comprehend the individual makeup that they are. They refuse to engage that or comprehend and understand that beings are manifestations of different bloodlines, all turning into one individual. That each and every individual is a cocktail of different attributes and flaws, different bits and pieces that make up the entirety. We stopped looking at that and now we refuse it. I know I'm overgeneralizing. I do it a lot whenever I'm angry or need to get a point across. I know there are people who want to make change. The previous video I did nothing but just overgeneralize and throw absolutely every single human being under the bus. But when angry and when influenced by bias and, chemicals in the brain and all that stuff, obviously you have a tinted pair of glasses. Now, I know I shouldn't be saying any of this because this may be language that may cause people to chain react and want to understand one another rather than be hateful and spiteful and self-centered. So I apologize if anyone watches this and I think that's sinful. You should never care about people. Then don't. Don't. If you're watching this before the other one, go watch the other one. And past me is going to tell you, you've sated your curiosity. This isn't for you. Run off. Same with this one. This is only for the people who want to hear it. Now, this is supposed to be reflection. I know I have my flaws. I know I've been willing to go to therapy. I've been willing to learn the practices and better myself. I never knew jack shit about myself because everyone around me was, well, if you don't talk about it or don't mention it, then it doesn't exist. What flawless logic, if you can call it that. I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to give as much people's respect as possible. I understand it works in some cases, but in this case, it obviously didn't work. Past me literally just had a fucking meltdown in this spot. But now, future me, to past me, is trying to file, overanalyze, well, not overanalyze, but analyze/battle analysis, and look through what I've done so that I can use it to better grow myself, nourish. And I'm not going to do that if I just stay angry and never address anything. Not every single coping mechanism works for every single person. There is a very, very good individual. I'm not going to say her name, obviously, for ambiguous reasons. Ambiguous? Nope, wrong term. Like animosity or anonymous, whatever the correct word is. I don't know. But She was a supervisor at Tim Hortons, and through her actions, I've been able to better coexist with myself, to understand the person that I am. And you would think, in a world 2025, that we advocate all the time for being mature and being level headed. Nobody wants to fucking do that. It's too much work. It's so much more easier to just ignore it and to belittle it, because if you belittle it or be angry towards it, it's never going to rear its head near you again, because they already saw the first time it happened. Why would they do it a second time? So, but besides that, I have chosen to over I have chosen to, comma, over half a decade more now, comma, to coexist with myself and be at peace so I can use it as gold filling for the cracked, ugly clay pot that I am. But in doing so, it's isolating. There's no one else who wants to do it. It's so rare that people have common sense and maturity that it's so isolating. It's now that the anger is over, the realistic part of knowing why no one chooses to be mature is not so much because no one else wants to do it. It's because there's literally no reason. There's such a landslide of people who would rather just singe or snuff out any opportunity of change, anything that might change their way of life, might disturb their perfect paradise. Not allowed to have it. And for that, our world just plummets. We're like insects to funeral pyres. All we want is the worst outcome. We advocate all the time. Oh, we praise, we do all these big speeches. Yippee, let's go for world peace. Yes, that exists. It always will exist. There is always something in us that wants to express. But that is not the world we live in. Now, this is supposed to be a self-reflection thing. I want to have a kid, but because, well, first of all, I had to figure out what this was, symbolism, and then figure out what this was. I can't have a child. Not because there's some biological incapability, but because I just don't have the means to be an adult and to properly train it. I would just pass on all of my aggressions and traumas onto that child. That is not fucking cool. Not at all. So I don't have a child. But on top of that, why on earth would I bring a child into this world? They're so likely to never be understood, not because there's nothing there for them, which there isn't, but because people just don't want to. It's too much work. We now just exist where they just, oh, just do this, just do that. Get off of them. They don't want you here. Please stop messing up their suit. You asking for help is like you walking into their home, muddying your shoes first, and then jumping on their clean white sheets on the bed that they just made. Or, as Ace Combat says, you just put your dirty, dirty boots on my crisp white sheets. I'm making a joke. That's a red flag of mine. I tend to make jokes into serious situations. It's a coping mechanism, and I get it from my father. Oh my god, I forgot. I wasn't supposed to coexist and understand myself, right? There's going to be a third video, and I'm going to try to make it some self-actualization. I know there's some tinge of venting and frustration in my tone, but obviously shit don't change in an instant. If it did, I would be turning everything off that made me me, and I would just be in a vegetative state so that everyone else couldn't be bothered or won't be upset that I'm doing something wrong. But that's not how that works, and there are so many people who also wish that they can. I know I'm not the only one, And save that for self-actualization. Yeah, it'll hit harder there. Coping mechanisms. I'm having a stroke. I'm not having a stroke. Coping mechanisms do not work on everybody. Yes, it would be so much simpler if one method worked for everything. Wouldn't that be grand? But that's not how that works. Yes, you can have two dogs, but those two dogs are different. Yes, you can have three cats, but those three cats are different. Yes, they're all cats. They're all felines. Yes, they're all canines or canids. Yes, you can have three different humans, but all three of them are different. Yes, some things may work on all of them, like different training methods or different ways that you approach or through body language or through the different interests that someone may have. You may act differently from one another, but no one wants to advocate for that shit. Even though they do, it exists. And there are people there who truly understand that there are people in this world who can make the change this world so desperately needs. The change that this world is on its knees, its last thread. I don't have a lot of faith in things, but that is because I've never been given a lot of faith. I've never been expected. No one's ever expected me to be able to do anything because, well, I don't want to know who you are. I just want you to be better so that I don't have to deal with the consequences of your actions. I just don't want to learn because that takes time on my end. And that's time and energy that I simply just do not have the willpower to learn. And okay, it is no one's responsibility to get you to do that. But I want you to listen very, very closely. It is a double-edged sword, and I hope in the future you truly grasp at why you keep getting cut when you swing this thing.